how way, ay, 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 ay. How way up, how way up, ay, 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 ay. How way, ay, 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 how way, ay, 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 ay.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Bridge. I'm your host, Kira Young, and you've reached me on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Today, we are also simulcasting with Real Liberty Media and People's Internet Radio. So welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining me today. I'm broadcasting live from Center County, Pennsylvania, where I have been digging baby plants all day to take back to Virginia with me and plant down there. So I got some sun, and it's a beautiful day, and I took a bunch of beautiful flower pictures. So for those of you who are friends with me or want to follow me on Instagram at KiraYoung4, there's lots of pretty flower pictures on there. Also, I always forget to do this. We have a couple of sponsors for this show. DoneRightBuffaloSauce.com. Some gourmet buffalo sauce that's delicious. Check them out. And also HealthMax.com. They produce CBD oils, and that's one legal way in the United States that people can take CBD that they really need. So check them out too. We've got a great show tonight, second hour. I've got Debbie Goldsberry on, and she runs Magnolia, which is a place where you can buy cannabis in Oakland, California. And Debbie comes from a long history of being a pioneer in the medical cannabis and cannabis freedom community. She's worked really, really hard to change the insane laws in this country regarding cannabis. But before we have Debbie on, we have a UK water protector who's been working really hard to stop fracking in the UK. Welcome to The Bridge, Joe Boyd.
Hi, good.
Hey, we got a little bit of an echo there.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, that's perfect. I've been wanting to get you on the show since, for lack of a better word, I had your comrade, Eddie Thornton, on when things really kind of kicked off over there with one of your actions. But you've been going hard at it with actions ever since. So tell us what we're missing here in the United States.
Okay, yeah. So, as you know, we set off the actions in 31st of January with me, Eddie, and Lou and Jared, and we just had to change the dynamics of the protest over there, really, because at that stage there was no actions, and Quadrilla, who's the energy firm who's going to do this first frack here in the UK, we're just getting on with building the site with little or no resistance, really. So we decided to plan an action and hope to inspire people. At that time, we didn't know how it would go afterwards, but we just thought we had to give it a shot. And ever since, there's been actions non-stop, whether it's been at the site or whether it's been at suppliers. It's probably somewhere in the region of, on average, about 2 a week. So it's pretty much shutting down. The site getting built twice a week. They planned on 8 weeks to build a site. And we're now into about the 11th or 12th week. And the site is still no hardcore on it to build a pod. So they're months behind. So the UK protectors are doing real hard work, and it's great to see people just taking the initiative and doing actions. I mean, when we done ours, it was a 4-man lock-on, and then from that there was a 6-man lock-on, then an 8-man lock-on. People on top of trucks all day. Someone was on the truck earlier this week for 24 hours, right through the night. And it's
wow.
it's really encouraging to see what's happening there.
That's amazing. And in addition to that, there's camps popping up all over. How many camps do you think you have now in the UK?
There's three camps. Well, there's three active camps of which is in danger of being fracked imminently. Obviously, the most important one is Preston New Road, and it has been the most important site since 2013. I mean, there was, at that time in the House of Lords here in the UK, they targeted this site in Preston New Road, but there's also a site over in North Yorkshire, and that's where Eddie's from, really. That's his area. They're holding the front line there. And then there's also a camp down at Leaf Hill, which is down in the south of England. That's for tight oil throughout the Weald Basin. That's under attack for the whole Weald Basin. At Leaf Hill, yeah, it's a place called Brockham near Dorking. So there's a couple of other little camps which is more a case of people resting and stuff, but the most active camps are them three. So, but really in the north of England, it's the most imminent is obviously Preston New Road, which is where you're seeing a lot of police action and a lot of direct action taking place right now.
So in January, when things kicked off, the police weren't really nothing compared to Standing Rock. I mean, you weren't getting maced in the face or anything like that. How has the police over there sort of ramped up things since January? When I talked to Eddie.
Yeah, like you said, it's nowhere near the situation that happened to Standing Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, what the pictures that were coming from there, bullets and, firing on protectors and stuff like that. Not got to that, nowhere near that issue. But I mean, it's gone from back when we done our action. There was probably at that stage maybe 2 or 3 riot bands of police, which is probably in the region of about 20 to 30 police. But now you're seeing sometimes 8 to 10 vans full of police there. Pretty much zero tolerance outside the site. And
so when you say, just to clarify, when you say outside the site, you mean like the beyond a certain area where you are protesting? You can't. They really crack down on you there. Like they just sort of give you an area that you can protest, or is that what you mean when you say that beyond the site? Or
yeah, no, the site is on a main dual carriageway really. So it's like 4 lanes of traffic, but it's now like 2 lanes of traffic. And the site outside the site was where the protesting is being taken place. So when the lorries go into the entrance through the gates, security gates, that's where the protests are being taken place. But because obviously he was getting blockaded outside there, then they upped the amount of police outside there. And what happened is, as soon as the lorries turn up at the site, the police jump out the vans and then form a line or kettle
right,
like grouping protectors in, and stop them from having any sort of protest at all. But it's interesting that you talk about a protest pen. About a month back, the field, which is adjacent to the site, was occupied for a few hours, and an injunction was put back in place. And with that injunction, inside the court papers, they tried to implement a protest pen, which was 25 metres by 25 metres, off the road on a field behind the hedge. Now we noticed this, a few of us, and we worked on it for a few days, and we took it to the court, and we produced it at the court and said, we know the injunction is going to continue, but this pen is breaking our human rights. It's stopping us from protesting. Fortunately, the judge seen that, and he didn't implement the pen, which was great news, because, if it had been implemented, it would have set a precedent for camps or any sort of resistance right around the country.
Right.
But just this week, the energy firm and the contractors on site, they have built a protest area, and then they put it in the media that it's there for people to use. Now, the message obviously that's got to go out is no one has got to go into this area, because as soon as they do, in a way they're legitimizing it when
Right.
the protest has to be about the industry, stopping the industry, not watching the industry even.
Yeah, so it's a way that they try to keep the water protectors on a leash, sort of turn you into controlled opposition. Here's your little area, that you can, and so I'm glad that you successfully resisted that. One of the things that you do have in common is that kettling. That's what they were doing the whole time at Standing Rock was kettling water protectors into an area. And the scariest part was that, I mean, this wasn't even in a roadway or anything, but in like an open field where they said, go that way and not, we won't arrest you. And then they kettled them anyway. So there's that sort of trickery going on. But I do expect for the police over there to keep ramping up, keep sort of testing those boundaries. And it sounds like you have some good judges with some good heads on their shoulders who are working not so much against you.
I mean, it seems to be that way. It seems to be that way when people are arrested and charged with things. The judicial system seems to have held up. But I mean, this week obviously was I think I sent you the link earlier in the week. The judicial reviews were heard for this site, which was originally the Preston New Road site in Blackpool was originally turned down by the local planning council. And the government stepped in and said, we're going to take control of the appeal. And obviously the minister ruled in favour of the Flackers, because obviously they're all in each other's pockets, these lobbyists and energy firms and stuff like that. But they put a spin out saying that they were going to hold this judicial review in the north of England because it was a local issue sort of thing, making it look like, there's some sort of democracy.
Right.
And obviously, well, they both failed this week, and so that was pretty much the last chance to stop the Flackers in this country, because the only other place you can go to is the Supreme Court, and by the time you go through that process, they'll already have been through the fracking process here anyway. They'll already the time it would take to go through that process, and it's a massive scale. This fracking site. I mean, you're talking it's the size of 2 rugby pitches and 32 tennis courts. That's how big the pod is. Yeah, it's not like where they just drill one hole and then move on to another hole. This is in one big super pod, and it's got fencing all the way around, sound barriers, and one thing and another. But so the only thing that's left, what we call here in the UK, is social license, and that comes down to people just saying no in their community, saying we're not having it, and standing the grounds, and that seems to be the final option. If the local community come out and said, maybe in 200-300 people from the local community come out and stood there in front of the gates and said, no, that's not coming in. It's a PR disaster for the energy firm and the police and everyone else to arrest all them people, because most of them are retired in that area, so it's a game of the minds, and it's a game of people just standing up and overcoming this fear of arrest, which is the main issue,
Right, and as usual, the legal challenges are usurped by the psychopaths in charge, as they call them. So that's what begins the protesting, because, like you said, that becomes the only option available. So that's the huge finger pointing at the elephant in the room, so to speak, that our legal means aren't really always available to us. And when we're on the right track and we're winning, and you have the public, I think it's over 90% over there that's against fracking. Is that correct? In the UK, over 90% of the public.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Once people know the facts, I mean, the problem in the UK is, I mean, I don't know what it's been like in the States, but it's for information about what the causes of fracking or whatever is minimal. I mean, they don't. If it's on the news, it's only on for a minute or two, and it just doesn't give any facts. And that's been the process in all the time I've been fighting this industry the last 3.5 years. And so the people have never really got like half an hour TV and said, like, there's fracking and this is the pros and this is the cons, and then being able to make up their minds. They're just fed little bits of information, which is just lost in everything that's going on right now. And so when the information, I mean, they've been doing reports to the government for the last, I think it's something like 2.5 years, and these figures have continually dropped of people who support fracking, and the figures change from when people look into it and know about it. That's when it drops. So it shows that the facts are out there to the people. They won't. There's no way that they are fracking. I mean, in Yorkshire, I mean, it's 99.2% of people opposed it, and it was still given the go ahead by the local council.
Yeah, so that's not democracy.
No.
And it's not even close to democracy. And just calling something democracy doesn't make it so. This is the test of democracy, where the people say, no, we don't want this. It's extraordinarily dangerous. And over here we have this eminent domain situation where they just take over. But we also have that logical argument on our side too, which is that these fracking wells benefit just a few people. It doesn't benefit these are private companies. They're not public utilities, so to speak, and they're acting as though they are public utilities. So it's basically a system that allows the destruction of life for profit under the guise of public good, masquerading as public good. So it's the veil's lifting. People are learning, and hopefully we will prevail. And it's worth the fight. It's worth it.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the fight has to go on. I mean, it just can't be allowed to get a foothold in this country. I mean, obviously this is a global fight. It's
Yes.
there's people in Australia fighting the same, America and Brazil and Spain and pretty much anywhere, New Zealand. And so, as transnational networkers, bilateral activists, we all have to do our fight and try and help each other in what works in different places, and pass that information down. That's one of the good sides of globalization. There's not many of them, but
Yes. Yeah, there's precious few advantages to the globalization of things, and that is definitely one of them. And we can also see the MO clearer too when we share information about how they operate. Then we can see their modus operandi very clear, and it's the same really every time.
It's the same. They're using the same PR companies and the same.
Yep.
The same people. Obviously, you had Faulkner. Chris Faulkner was obviously from the States, and then he came over here and he was giving his spin and stuff. And the other thing that we don't talk about much is the investment side of it. These investors and getting that message out. Like, this industry, you invest in this industry and you're going to lose a lot of money. It's been proven all over the world that once investors invest, the price goes up, and then as soon as the people in the know, the people who are getting the test flow results and that kind of stuff, they sell out halfway through the first day, and then everyone else is left with the bill just sinking their money. So if no one invests in the business, they haven't got a business. They work on that, but they work on that basis as well.
Right. Yeah. So it's a scam all the way around.
Yeah.
And the energy that it takes to actually frack it's not worth the energy that you get out of it. If you factor in the ecological devastation and just the pure sort of energy that you get from it, there's so much more that that goes into fracking than is really worth even doing when you factor all the facts in. But that, we're back to this before they keep the facts out of the news. And over here, there's nothing about it on the news at all. There's not even a bit of information on it. It's just, and it's just on the internet, and it's overwhelming because, there's a million wells. So people are overwhelmed by, well, where do you start? And have we already reached the point of no return? And there's all of those sort of questions that are going on for people. But I want to be able to say I was on the right side of history and resisted these horrifying ways of making money.
Yeah, me too. I think, as you say, that at least we'll be able to look back in time and say, we tried our best to stop it. We tried our best to get the information out, and whether that's being away from our families or sleeping in the side of the road or on a camp or whatever that may be. It's like you say, it's about big business. I mean, one of the biggest issues here in the UK that doesn't get mentioned is the gas itself, and the gas itself in the news is for houses. So people think it's for their house. They're going to get this cheap gas and it's going to heat their homes, and older people think, yeah, well, we should do it because that's, it's the kids and all that. But what they're not telling you is, this gas is going to like chemical giants, like it is a lot in the US, because it's a big industry in the US, and this is where like companies like INEOS have come into it here, and they're interested in getting the gas for their sites up in Grangemouth and in other parts of the country, as a feedstock. So, I mean, when people get them sorts of information, it's they see it in a whole different light, because one minute they're thinking it's for their homes, and then when the facts are out there, they're not. It's for some company up in Scotland, but they can't put that information out into the public domain, because as soon as they do, the industry's finished. So it's trying to, as you said, it's trying to get the information out online, and you've got this network that's just a lot of information, and you also get a lot of algorithms. So if you're talking about fracking a lot, you just get categorized into like fracking all over your page, and so people are not always getting the information. It's a big
so what they do over here is they sell the idea that it's for energy independence. It'll make America energy independent, and yet it all goes for export. We get to take all the risk with the pipelines and the fracking, in the fracked oil. We get to take all of the ecological risk, and we don't even get the energy out of it. Yet their PR firms still insist that it's for energy independence. And for some reason, people just don't look... they just don't look deep enough to see that that's a lie. The majority of people don't anyway. So when you confront people and you tell them, they're like, oh, wow, that's not worth it then. It's really not. And, those are the facts. But it is, we are dealing with a post-truth era, right? Where... And that is it's straight up pathology in terms of an MO. Is the psychopaths in charge will continue to overwhelm the public and sell a lie, and people will buy it. They'll gaslight people into thinking that we're really facing a much different situation than what we're really facing. So.
Yeah, they say it's like using the energy security one. Like we've got a sun there, but lots of energy coming off it. So it's just words, isn't it? It's just discourse and how they frame these things, and it's just all lies. Like I just would say though, Kieran, I mean, in the UK, there's over 500 local groups now who were fighting fracking throughout.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot, but I think we've got to the point now where these 500 groups need to start contributing to this Preston New Road site, because I think if we wait down the road, I think it's that the old cliche: if you let one well get going, then it'll open the floodgates for the rest. And I think while they're sitting down waiting for their areas to protect, actions going out and doing actions at, say, against Quadrilla, who's the energy firm at Preston New Road, and a couple of people from the group, having a little meeting between themselves, setting up an action, and then just turning up and doing some sort of blockade or whatever. The groups in, parts of Yorkshire, Nottinghamshire, places like that. It's time for the country to come together and start, supporting this one site and getting as many actions as possible. Because if we can stop Quadrilla here, we can stop the industry, and it's there and then. It's not a case it will move on. I think because they put so much time into this site that if everyone comes together and says, you know what, we need to go and help these people. If we can go and stop these here, then it's not going to come to us anyway. And I think that's the way forward. We, people have to be looking at it. I mean, we're a lot smaller than the US. It's not far to travel to this site. Really, it's a couple of hours, or there could be a supplier who's an hour and a half, 2 hours away, who's closer to one of these other groups, and getting active from them groups. That kind of actions.
Mm-hmm.
Stop them before the stuff gets there, and get these suppliers pulling out, because that's been really successful. We've had 8 suppliers up to now who pulled out of delivering to the site once they've been blockaded and stuff like that. So it's becoming a toxic industry to deliver to.
Right.
Because people just turn up outside there early in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, outside the suppliers, and just block the road out for hours. These companies, how they see it is, it's just they're only delivering to one company here, but they might have 10, 20 contracts with other companies, and they're not going to be prepared to lose them over 19 contracts for one. You see? So there's these ways of attacking it which can be really successful, like as well as the local camp, and as well as the locals being outside the site.
The environmental group that I belong to, the local chapter that I belong to, our strategy is local fracking bans. We're having to ban fracking county by county. That's how we're having to do it. And it's a lot of work, but where we are is a highly populated area that was before off the table, but now they've ramped things up. They want to make more money, so there are more populated areas on the table now. So we have to work really hard to keep it from areas like Pennsylvania. There's certain areas where people's, their water's permanently poisoned, and when they turn on their tap, you can light it on fire. So that's a goal, not to ever let that happen where we live, and to keep the rivers and creeks and streams all clean, because there's no the protections anymore. They've all been removed. So it's a dire situation. And
the regulations issue here in the UK, I mean, it's set up with all these regulations, but what we're seeing, like at Preston New Road now, is what we knew anyway. We knew this would happen, that regulations would be worthless once they start, because everything's corrupt in their favour. And I mean, only this week on Thursday there was a delivery which was broken the planning conditions. I mean, the lorries were meant to come in from one side, and they came in from the other side, but the police shut the road, escorted the 4 lorries in, and then all got in the vans and scuttled in the vans quick and got out of there. It was almost as if they were told, like, down the road, look, we're going to turn up, we're going to bring these lorries in, We're going to shut the road quick, get the lorries in, and then jump in your vans quick and get out of there, so no one sees it. I mean, it was like something. It's like it's like a sketch. So so they're openly now. The police here are openly, like in the public eye, facilitating the industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like the police cost on this one site in Lancashire is £450,000 a month. You know, and like that's taxpayers paying for that.
Right. Right.
The water, which is coming from the reservoir, the pipe right into the reservoir, which goes straight into the site, so they're not paying for that neither. You know, so it's issues like that people are unaware of. You know, they're able to just do what they want to, you know, at the public's pace really, and the public don't want it. And it's like, when are people going to say, when enough is enough, and stand up to it? You know, and that's what it's going to take. More local people standing up to it, you know, and acting. I mean,
have you had any type of media collectives that have popped up in order to get the real information out there? Like for instance, Unicorn Riot, that embedded at Standing Rock, and they're a media collective that are bringing things from the front line. Or do you have that going on in the UK as well, where people are dedicated to getting this media out there and are just sort of independent and not answering to anyone?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of live. Obviously, there's a lot of live streamers on the front line there, so you generally got 4 or 5, but you've got them people sitting at home, and then they're sharing that stuff also. That it's independent in that way, you know. I mean, some of the views, I mean, obviously not like into the millions, but like it was a Standing Rock, and that's obviously because the police violence is nowhere near it was there. But I mean, some of these videos are getting 40,000 views. So,
wow.
Yeah. So people are. I mean, as I say, we're only at the stage where the site's getting built. So people are aware of it. You know, people are aware of what's going on and how the police are treating people. I mean, only this week there was a disabled non-ex-veteran who's got a really bruised leg from how he was treated by the police outside there. So, I mean, it's stuff like that where people are starting to realise that, you know, people who, I mean, there was a girl who was praying a few months back outside the gates. She was arrested and then released a couple of hours later without charge, just to get them out the way. So it's a diverse people with a diverse message who are getting arrested there. You know, it's the other issue we've got there is locals and nationals. I mean, people are getting classed as nationals, like national activists, you know, and getting picked out for arrest, and the locals are not. So it's yeah.
Okay, so basically you're saying like some people sort of suck the oxygen out of the local scene when they show up and get more attention than the locals. I mean, is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think because the people who are getting classed as national sort of thing, that these people have been doing actions for a long time. You know, direct action is is something that we've done for years. You know, I was doing it back in 2013 myself, and some of the other people who've been doing actions lately the same. And it's them people who are getting targeted, but they're the people who are promoting this site with the amount of police down there, the cost and stuff like that. Because if that stuff wasn't happening, then it'd just be getting swept under the carpet as if nothing's really happening there. You know what I mean? So, so they are a key part of it, and they keep arresting people. More people keep turning up. It's always the way you know. Injustice is what gets people awake, isn't it? You know. Right.
Yes. Do you have a system over there where you can request information, like a Freedom of Information Act that we have over here, where we can request public records to in order to get that information out, because that's one really effective way of that I thought Unicorn Riot got information out, is that they had one dedicated guy who was just doing freedom of information requests, and that's how it uncovered how the whole thing at Standing Rock was being funded through emergency management monies and things like that. If you had, I don't know if you already have that, if you have like a dedicated person to find this stuff out, and that's their role, they're really good at getting digging this information up.
Yeah, we've got, there's lots of talented people throughout the country, who are working on that kind of stuff in different ways. The problem is in the UK, it's you get a lot of stuff that's redacted, or because it's the other issue, which is what we had at Barnmoss, and no doubt what we had at Humberside, Crawley Hill, and we're also going to get it here, is that they'll say that it's in operation mode and they can't release that stuff while the operation's taking place.
Right.
Because they'll have a code word for this operation, you see, which is what they've always done. So if you try and get certain information, they'll just shut it down. They don't mind giving you light bits of information on a freedom of information request, but when it comes to tactics and stuff like that, you just can't get it.
Right, and that's exactly what they say. Even if sometimes you're requesting information that has nothing to do with their tactics, is they'll pull that card out and say, well, we can't reveal our tactical information. It's like, well, I didn't really ask for that. So you got to discover new and creative ways to ask for the information. Sometimes you can ask for information that's only about yourself, and they'll redact it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they did. We had like a report from the doctors, physicians, and stuff, people like that, and that report was redacted, and there was a report to do with the Infrastructure Act where they said about homes, the value of homes, and stuff close to the site, and that was redacted 69 times, and like that was just before the Infrastructure Act came in 2015, which said they could drill under your homes, because obviously the other issue, which we're looking at as well, is the dumping of like radioactive waste and nuclear disposal, stuff like that, in these boreholes eventually, because as you know, the laws have changed at sea, and they've got to find somewhere to get rid of it, because it's stocking up in hospitals all across the land, isn't it? So. And that's the other worry. That's the other worry for communities, because obviously they're in this situation of what's called like peripheral communities, which is communities out the way, and they use these terms like justice and that you should have it because you haven't got much and stuff like that. So that's the other concern people need to be concerned about, and which is not getting any coverage in the media whatsoever. So, but it's there. It's in white papers, government papers, So,
right.
But they've always got a few. They've always got a few plans. These people, haven't they? They're well ahead of the game.
They sure are, and they're greasing whatever palms they need to in order to just push it through. But slowing them down is a perfectly respectable tactic of activists. Slow them down, make it expensive, make it not a profitable, even less profitable for them. We've really got no other choice at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing with this site in Blackpool, which is, what you were saying before, it's going to have like 4 wells and maybe 80 fracks on it and stuff. It's planned. This site's planned for 2 years, so of fracking and drilling. So, over a period of time, this persistence, slowing down, persistency of companies pulling out, persistency of letting the shareholders know they're onto a loser. It's all part. Sometimes it's quite hard when you've been at it for a long time and you think you're just not getting anywhere. But I think when you step out and step back in, you can see the impact that you're actually having. it's greater than people realise, and it's probably the biggest movement. I'd say it's the biggest movement in the UK right now. You know, social and environmental movement. It's having impact. You know, people are acting in ways like no other. So they definitely need to be concerned, these energy firms, and they'll keep pulling out the lies and discourse. But you know, it's our job to keep counteracting them and keep at them on a daily basis. You know,
right? Because their other MO is to keep us overwhelmed. So we have these wars brewing. You know, we have the energy companies destroying the environment and our homes in order to make money. So it's a deliberate tactic on their part to overwhelm us. And I'm sure that on the other side of that, in every way that we respond, they hope that we resistors overwhelm the general public with our resistance as well. I think that's, you know, a back and forth that they're hoping adds to people's overwhelming feelings about reality. And when we talk about fracking, there's a lot of facts regarding fracking that are really hard to process and just sort of get your head around. So I think a lot of people have their heads in the sand still and just really don't want to look at, because it's so bad that your brain almost plays a trick like this can't possibly be the reality we're looking at. So I think, you know, that's also an issue. It's a really hard truth to get your head around.
Yeah, because I mean, 20 years from now, the devastation of this industry, you know, it's going to blight a couple of generations, if not more, you know, guaranteed. I mean, some like the German fracking report in 2012 was saying all wells leak eventually. You know, it's so if the half of this toxic stuff is in a well when they abandon the well, eventually that's going to seep into the ecology in the local vicinities. You know, when to think what mess the UK will be in after 10 or 15 years of this industry, it's hard to even think about. You know. Mm-hmm. And we also have the issue of like homelessness in our cities, which is growing obviously like it is in the States. And
right.
And once these places in rural areas, if these get their own way, then these people who are in the rural areas now are going to come back to the cities, and then you're going to have this homelessness and poverty and social deprivation exacerbated even more in the cities as well. You know, it's mind-boggling what destruction this industry will have, you know, in such a small area, which is what, you know, where they're planning on doing it. I mean, the northwest, where this site is, and obviously in Yorkshire, where Eddie and people like that are, you know, these places, it's all about the rural tourism. You know, it's massive industries, and so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's massive industries. I mean, it's like Yorkshire, for instance. They have a tour of Yorkshire because cycling, like rural cycling, is huge in the northeast of the country. Like, and they're going right. They're on the 28th of this month, 20th of April. They're cycling right past the camp. You know, and they've been liaising with the organisers and stuff. It's the second biggest cycling event in the UK, and you know, this is what their people were saying. It's the tourism, it's the wildlife, it's what people are in this matrix in the city where everything buildings are all above them, everything's fast, and they go out into the countryside to get that energy back into their lives. They won't be, not caravanning and stuff. It's huge here, and if you haven't got that. It's the mental health issues on top as well off it, because you haven't got that balance in your life, have you?
Right. Yeah, and then, as you're talking about the devastation and everything, the health devastation is going to come down too, and everybody is going to respond differently to the health risks that all of these chemicals that are in the fracking wastewater, and then they re-inject it into the earth and it poisons everything, including people. But we all respond differently, so then we seek help and guidance from the medical community, and because we all have different responses, they're labeled as different illnesses and diseases, and we can't even challenge on that front that, look, all these chemicals, because there's so many different chemicals and toxins, and we each respond differently to each different one. There's so many that we can't even it's illegal actually to know all that's in fracking wastewater. And we have Dick Cheney to thank for that. That's incredible.
Whole lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that in the UK they've got to say what they're using. I mean they say that. I mean you got to take it. You got to take it with a pinch of salt, because once they get going and the regulations are worthless, I mean they can be putting anything into the ground. They're not going to tell you that, are they? So.
Right.
It's what happens on that site will not be getting sold into the public domain, that's for sure. And so, we've already had a couple of failures from just like exploratory, where they never told the Environment Agency until months after the event and stuff like that. So you've got to be public scrutiny has got to be like, it's got to be top class all the time, and this is why it's so important to stop the first well, because once they start getting drilling wells all over the place, you just haven't got the eyes all over the place to be able to scrutinise every last little bit of this industry, so. And then you've got the issue with like the police, that the police here are getting militarised like they already are in the States, so. Mm-hmm. It's not like your local bobbies anymore. They've got all these equipments and whatever, and so before people realise it, that the issue with terrorism is used as, well, we've got to arm the police a bit more. So next minute you're having a protest outside somewhere, and then you're dealing with these police who have got all these weapons on them. It's scary thoughts of where we're going, isn't it? So
very scary. Very scary where we're going. And, we've got, let's see, about 5 minutes before we say goodbye. So I just wanted to make sure if there's anything that you wanted to promote that's coming up soon, anything you wanted to get in before we run out of time together.
Okay, yeah. So like I was saying before, there is the Tour of Yorkshire, which is the 28th of April, and that's at the Kirby Miss Burton camp in North Yorkshire.
Okay.
People could go there and support that. It'd be a great day, and people will really enjoy it. Tomorrow there's an Easter egg hunt, which is at the New Hope camp in Preston New Road. So anyone with young families and it's a friendly environment on camp. Be a great day to get down there, and especially for local people in the community to go down and see what the people who are doing all the action, and we've all got a wealth of knowledge and stuff like that. So be a good day for them to just get down there and join the community. And then you've got tomorrow there's a meeting in Brockham Village Hall near Dorking. This is to do with the fracking for tight oil in the Wheel Basin. There is a protest camp down there which has got an eviction order on it at the moment. So if people in the south, in the Sussex and Surrey area, that'll be something for them tomorrow. And then there's obviously Billings. There's another site ready to go active as well in Billingshurst. So people need to, in that area of Sussex, make themselves aware of any meetings that take place in the next few weeks. I'm sure there will be. It's a good team down there.
This is wonderful. Okay. Well, maybe I'll get over there again someday. I haven't been back since the 90s, so I'm sure things have changed, and I would love to visit one or more of these camps someday and see how you guys do it over there.
Yeah,
It would be really good.
you're welcome to these shows anytime. Just give us a shout when you come over and we'll catch you up.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
brilliant.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all of your hard work. I know that, right now, Mercury's in retrograde. Some people don't believe that stuff, but communication gets really wacky during these times.
No.
Give yourself a break and give everybody else a break, and before we know it, we'll be back on track, being able to communicate properly with each other.
No, that's so I get that. Like, it's really, quite often happens yet. So sometimes you just need to take a step back and then regroup and then come back as a stronger unit.
That's right. And what I tell people, water protectors, is, you're fighting for the water. Let the water fight for you. Water is the first medicine. It's healing and it's nurturing, and it's really, really nice to get in and take a nice hot bath and let it all go sometime, and the water will heal you. So thank you again for all of your hard work, and I hope to have you back. And if there are others that want to get information out, please contact me, because we're always here at the Bridge with Kira to get information out about this type of important work.
Just keep doing what you're doing, and let's hope we create a world which is better for all of us.
Let's do that. Thank you again, Joe, and we will talk to you soon. Stick around, everybody. We're going to have Debbie Goldsberry, and she's going to talk about the cannabis community in California and her pioneering work that she's been doing for, 30 years over here, changing the insane laws for cannabis. So please stick around. Bumpers are coming up for the station, and we'll be right back, everyone. Please stick around. Thank you for listening to The Bridge with Kira. And thanks again, Joe.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Blessed.
Bye.